Welcome to Jesus Energy. I'm so grateful that you're here in this space. We move beyond right beliefs, beyond finding the right actions, and into embodying and emanating the healing, loving, and transformative energy of Jesus. One of the main focuses of this project is to dive into things often labeled as not Christian, yet undoubtedly spread the goodness and transformative energy of Jesus, while also looking for the beauty of Christianity, all for the purpose of getting closer, hopefully to the heart of the original mission of Jesus. In today's conversation, we get to hear from the incredible Jane Woods. I swear she is like an 87-year-old sage in the body of a young, vibrant 30-something. Like, she'll say things, and the beauty of her words and wisdom just completely blow my mind, and I need a minute to gather myself after things that she says. And in this conversation, we talk about the beauty of the cross and what we love about Christianity and some of the theological struggles that we've moved through. And I swear, so in preparing this episode for you, I've had to listen to it back. And first of all, that is an act of self-love in and of itself, just listening to my own voice without overly critiquing myself. So side note there. But also in listening to this conversation, I swear as it went on, something in Jane's presence just gained this heat or this energy and just became more and more beautiful as it went on. So if you don't have the time to listen to the whole thing, if you want to speed forward to around, don't, because she's so incredible, everything she says, but around 55 minutes, I think she talks about us being the seeds, God's seeds, and mercy as the foundation of all of the fruits of the Spirit. She just blows my mind. And, a part of me wanted to take a break or not release this right now. Sometimes there can be tension in the air, or politically or otherwise, or, another tragedy going on in the world. And I came across these words from Emily McDowell that said, "Love and joy and fun are your original factory settings. In a world filled with tragedy and pain, to commit to your joy is a revolution, and you were born to be a revolutionary." And so I release this in hopes that, sometimes I feel like a deep conversation with an amazing girlfriend can be great medicine for the soul. And I pray that this might feel like that for you. Thank you for being here. So much love to you. Enjoy the beauty, wonder, and awe that Jane Woods brings to the world. She is a gift, and you are too. Yay, welcome. I'm so grateful to be here with Jane Woods. Thanks for being here, Jane.
Thanks for having me, Kate. It's a delight.
It's one of those moments where I'm like, I had the pull and the vision or dream, and now I'm here doing this, talking with you, and kind of whoa, what am I doing? Where am I? But it is grounding for me that it's you here that's with me. So
yeah.
Thank you
Just
for being on this new project with me. Yeah, just us.
I'm so glad you're bringing it forward, Kate. Letting it happen.
Thank you. But Jane is a talented writer. She is an incredibly gifted spiritual companion and coach. And she is the fearless leader of a wisdom circle, a group of women that I get to be humbled by and energized by on an almost weekly basis. I would love to hear from you, how you would describe it, but I think of it as real-time practice for living out my essence. So that is part of what it has been for me over this last year. And you are just, I told you this the other week, but I'm like, you are the definition of cool for me. You're just like this epic listener and beautiful, and will just randomly put to words like the stunning beauty and purpose of the world. I'm like, where did that, what? Just blows my mind. That's how I see you. And I'm just so grateful for you. And I would love to hear, just like from your voice, Jane, who you are and what you're up to.
Okay. Thank you, Kate. I love receiving that compliment, as I've told you. And I feel that we have a mutual perception of one another. Maybe we're just seeing our own coolness in each other. That might be what's happening. So yeah, I do offer spiritual companionship to one-on-one clients. That's part of my work. And I facilitate these circles. And then sometimes I write a newsletter that hasn't been very active lately. But yeah, I love your definition of the wisdom circles, that like it's a place you come and practice your essence. Thinking about it in those terms is refreshing and inspiring. And I'm glad that that's how it feels to you. And I think that that's very much true. It's a fellowship. I experience it as a fellowship. Like, I'm not actively a member of a church right now, but I do show up every week to be in our circle and one other one that I currently host. And that's where we study the text, whatever our spiritual text is. And we could probably expand to include music, because that would be a division of church that would really,
Cool.
I think, be beautiful. But anyways, that's how I understand. I think about it as being a fellowship for our inner development. And so it is a place that we come and we experience who we truly are, not only who we believed ourselves to be. And we have a place that we practice uncovering that.
Yeah.
I think that's part of the work that we do
Yeah.
together.
And that makes me think too, something else that I am really learning from you is, and I was reminded of it this morning from Richard Rohr, something that St. Francis said just about everything being sacred. And that is a huge message that I feel like I get from you, that everything is sacred. Everything is a opportunity to practice life and seeing beauty. It just makes me think of our meeting last week. Jane and I had a one-on-one, and my kid literally in the background, "Mom, where's the screwdriver?" But yeah, and then preparing for today.
Mm-hmm.
Last night and this morning, my
Mm-hmm.
kids felt like they had fluid in their ears, and we were running around this morning trying to give them all the things they need to be their best and find healing. And I so felt the temptation to be like, I can't give you my energy right now. I need all of my energy to prepare for this.
Yeah.
And from you, like, as you know, in your teaching, like, I felt very beautifully challenged to be with them there and let today be whatever it is. And so
I have had our session last week very much in front of me as well. And I thought that would be conversation enough for this
yeah,
time
right.
that we're sharing even today.
Yeah.
My morning was full of my children as
Hmm.
well. And we do a co-op for homeschool
Yeah.
on Wednesday mornings until 1 o'clock. And so like before 9 a.m., I'm like, more or less
Wow.
frantically trying to feed everyone
Yep.
and maybe squeeze a lesson in, because we homeschool before we go to co-op. And then we're at co-op from 9 to 1. And then I'm like, okay. And I'm beating myself up for not spending more time with the questions, for not, this is just a theme in my life, but like, am I prepared enough? Am I prepared enough?
Yeah.
And forgetting that what I perceive to be in the way all along is the way. It
Yes.
is the way. And so it's just been interesting, Kate, to come alongside you last week in your experience and this deep wish that we have to manifest something in the world, to use these obvious spiritual creative gifts that we have been given, and yet feel constantly the tension between creative work and practice and motherhood, parenthood, being what we really long to be for our partners and our families. I think there's a reality here to the fact that sometimes it is mutually exclusive. Like I
Tell
don't
me.
know if
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm on the boat that says we can do all of this
Yeah.
at this time.
Yeah.
I can't say that I'm personally finding by through experience
Yeah.
that it's more fulfilling to have my own work than it is to funnel all the creative energy
Mm.
I feel for my work into my home and the needs of my family at a time when they're really high. And I think, you and I are coming from a similar season of life where our kids are school age and we're very involved and we're the primary caretaker. And so there's, these circumstances that are unique and very not unique, to our experience right now.
Yeah.
And in one sense, like it is it's here and it's gone. And we know
Yes.
that. And we all
Yes.
talk about that. We all say it goes so fast.
Yeah.
And it does.
It does.
And can I be patient enough? And can I recognize that really everything I'm craving for my own transformation is possible and like most likely
Mm.
within this container of householding and child rearing.
Yeah.
It's all here for me. And I've seen my own tendency to constantly look outside of that for my teacher, for the next expansion that I can experience through this, that, or the other, program. And it's like it's all built into the curriculum already
Yeah.
of help, yeah, tending to this home and these
So what is like a pull that you feel or like an expansion that you crave? And how do you see that or get that in through your babies, through your time
hmm
with
hmm
your kids?
Yeah. Um,
Does that make sense?
well, the primary wish that I have
Yeah.
is to be transformed into love,
Mm.
to become liberated, that I am made useful to love. And we talk about this in circle a lot, right? Like I want to be so unconditioned, so unconditional that in any moment and every moment arising, I am available to the spontaneous movement
Wow.
of love in, through, and out of me. And what I have sought for in the past is experiences and teachings that will liberate me. What's my next practice? Like what spiritual practice is going to get me there? What teacher is going to reveal that secret to me? And what experience as far as, retreats or courses or whatever are going to assist me in this process? And it's like, have you tried just like giving undivided attention to your 6-year-old? How much does that, I mean, that's the spiritual practice is like, I could do a different one if I didn't have a family that would develop my attention in the same way. But I do have a family, as it turns out, and I really could just practice giving full attention, even if it's for 5 minutes. Like, I'm not even saying this is what we're asked to do all day long. If we're talking about spiritual practice, it's already built in here. And the practice of choosing against my preferences most of the time, most days. And that's part of what gets me outside of that conditioning. I like this, I don't like that, and in the work that we're doing together, right? Like we recognize all the patterns, all the ways our behaviors, our thoughts, our feelings are habituated. But if we are part of a family system, every day we have the opportunity to be liberated from those in order that we can benefit someone else in our family system,
Yes.
right?
Yeah. It's funny too because my kids are a little bit older
Mhm.
and we're no longer homeschooling. And so I have a little more time that I like shame myself into like, I should be getting all this stuff done. But I have found it interesting to like, I think, I resonate as an Enneagram 4, and I think I have romanticized a lot of my dreams and hopes and
Mhm.
like writing and creative projects. And there's something about, I'm wondering, like, I just trying a little bit, like with this project and like some writing things, like it almost becomes a little more neutral and like
Mm.
off of this pedestal and helps me be more present sometimes too.
Mhm.
I don't know. So that is something that I'm playing with too. Like,
Mhm.
because even after our conversation like that we had last week,
Yeah.
I felt like maybe I don't need to do anything. Like just my being with my kids is enough. And
Yeah.
I can swing really far from one diving into one project to only my family. And so I'm like, I wonder if
Same.
I could be a little more neutral.
I think that's an important question.
Yeah, I don't.
So interestingly enough, this was obviously an important encounter we had last week.
The wild hour that it was.
Yeah,
I was
yeah,
15
I
minutes
know,
late.
right? It was funny because I've been locating myself in that same swing. I very much identify with that, and I'm in a position of discernment, a moment, I should say, of discernment currently about if work that we're doing is moving forward in this way or not, or how. And it's been like that where I watch myself like decide I'm in, I'm so in. And then it's like nothing else is important as being in on another project or a future project. And then for me, the story is I've become aware of some subconscious projections that are going on that are related to the work that I do. Okay. So if we can just hold that, then so let's say I see that. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm locating my self worth in,
How do you see a subconscious projection? How does that
okay.
show up for you?
So, well, that is a process for me of recognizing that I have been acting or behaving or thinking in a certain way without awareness of it, or that choices that I've been making were motivated from subconscious stories or beliefs, and I didn't see it before. And so I might have thought that I was doing something out of the goodness of my heart, for example, and find out later that actually I was, because this, that, or the other comes up, like then I see, oh, no, really, this is in some way benefiting me personally, right? Like that might be one shape that it takes. I'm sure that could take so many forms.
Sure.
In this situation, like the concrete example,
Yeah.
is recognizing that I want to continue creating offerings in my business because I gain such a sense of self importance through doing that. And so I saw in a way I hadn't seen before, I am locating my self worth and my sense of self in the fact that I hold this particular post in the world,
Yeah.
you know, whatever post it is. When I have seen, or in instances that I see, oh, my motivation is coming from somewhere subconscious I didn't see before.
Yep.
right? Then I'll make that swing on the pendulum.
Yes.
And so I'll be like, well, now I can never do this thing ever because
Right.
it's not pure. Like it's
Right.
somehow not coming from the right place.
Yes.
And so, what I love about what you are offering and experimenting with is getting off of that swing and looking for a third way where it's like, I'm not only at home, I'm not only focusing on, I'm not bending everything in my life toward creating new projects. But what if I just played
Yes.
with recording this podcast? And
Yeah.
what if I just played with writing this essay or this chapter? And what if I let it be neutral? And that was my favorite thing that you said is like, the problem, right, is when we become over identified.
Yeah.
That's really, that's really the crux. It's like, if we can just let it be what it is and not be overly attached to creating it or to the outcome that we manufacture in our imagination, then it can be fun and light and neutral, like you said.
I love that.
So
Thank
how's
you,
that
Jane.
feeling? How's that feeling?
It's a little scary, but it's good. I feel the need for surrender and opening my heart and just a sense of willingness, you know, that feels vulnerable. And also, I have like 6 half full bags of groceries upstairs that or five, like I just put away the
Yeah.
cold stuff.
Right.
Yeah. But yeah.
What
And
comes to me when you say that, if you don't mind,
yeah,
is
please.
when you said it's kind of scary and it's requiring surrender and willingness. Immediately, I thought that if that isn't how we know, maybe that's the litmus test for like whatever our next unfolding is in literally any moment, but also in a larger sense when we're discerning and when we're in a period of generating new possibilities. It's like, do I have to surrender? Does this invite me to surrender? And does it require a willingness? Am I out beyond what feels comfortable to me? Like, I think
Yeah,
all those are really meaningful questions
I love
that
those
indicate,
questions.
yeah, we're headed in the right direction.
I love that. That makes me think of too, like, how did you get to be in a place where you started the Waking House to begin with? And I guess I don't think I fully know, like, your story.
Maybe not. Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
so whatever you would like to share, I would love to hear.
Yeah. What point does our story
Yeah, I
begin?
know. That's what I was like, I'm thinking as I said that.
So,
Well,
um,
back
I was
in.
born. Yeah. um, there was definitely a shift for me that was about 5 years ago. And I had my two children. They were very small, but they existed earthside. And my husband is a professional mental health counselor, licensed professional mental health counselor. There's like a long term, that's the formal phrase. And we'd opened Waking House. And so that was our private therapy practice. And then as my children were slightly older than small babies, there was an opportunity for me to start kind of discerning what might be mine to do. And at first, I was kind of coming alongside Andrew, and we were like getting on social media to promote and grow what was our business technically, but like mostly his services, right? And I had a blast at that time. Social media was like still kind of fun and more personal and had less ads, and I was having fun creating content. And so I just started doing that for fun. And it was all what was kind of comical about it is I was like supposed to be focusing on mental health and holistic like therapy, but all I could do is like create what I was into. And so it was all came out extremely spiritual. And at one point, Andrew's like, I'm not even sure this, like this handle, because my handle used to be Waking House. It was like, I'm not sure, like, like is lining up, and I'm a little concerned about my clients like thinking that this is who I am when it's really who you are. And I was like, yeah, okay, I appreciate that. But what came of that was that people started resonating with the
Yeah.
content. And there was a moment where I had like 4 or 5 women reach out over just a couple of weeks, like requesting counsel. Like they wondered if I offered one-on-one, spiritual direction. And I had been seriously considering that path already. But once they started showing up, I went to my elders who I had at the time. I had a small group. I'd been through the living school with Richard Rohr and Cynthia Bourgeau and James Finley when they were
Wow.
still in person.
Wow. Really?
Yes.
In
Yeah. So
person? Wow.
that was 2017 to 2019. And we still had to go to Albuquerque at that time.
Wow.
And I would go twice a year, and 3 times one year. But it was really special. And so that was where a lot of my formation came from.
What does Cynthia feel like in person?
I am, okay, my first thing is like, she's tiny and I'm tiny. And so I was like, it's
You're like
possible to be
kindred spirits.
tiny and like have a big impact in another way. Because she's just, so yeah, she's kind of like shockingly unimpressionable, which is what I love about it. I think but to be closer and talk to her is powerful and like meaningful. And I feel like she lived her teaching and just being unassuming, you know, that speaks volumes to me. So I was journeying. I had completed that experience. I had completed a yoga teacher training that was meaningful to me, and, was just seeking a lot of opportunities for my own sort of development and skill building. And
Yeah.
the elders in my life were like, if you like, we see in you that you're ready to receive these people who are coming to you. And so you should. And it took me months, like 3 months. I was like, had so much resistance, imposter syndrome, like situation, just like
Yeah.
I wanted it so bad. And at the same time, I like couldn't fully receive that it was true, that it could be true. And there was a time that I saw one of these women and I was just asking for them to pay by donation. And she sent me $125. And I like fell on the floor. Like, just like, I think I was in tears and in prayer. I was like, I can't believe this is real. I get to do this.
Yes.
And it was almost immediately after I finally said, yes, I'm willing to hold this post to provide these services. I was inspired, just not by anything outwardly, but had the idea, the divine idea to have my first wisdom circle. I knew what wisdom circles were, but I was, presented with a Wisdom Jesus by Cynthia Bourgeau was one of those first books that
Yes.
I went through with 12 women.
Wow.
It was the beginning. That was the beginning. And it's just continued to evolve.
Where does the idea of a wisdom circle come from?
So that is a ancient concept, small groups of spiritual seekers learning and practicing together with a facilitator. Someone tends to host it.
Yeah.
Although for those of us in the work, and we can talk about the work a bit, but who are on a spiritual path, at some point we're all in this together, and you don't require a leader. But if there's a group of people who are all more or less at the same developmental level spiritually, they can come together and they can study. and they can practice and they can hold one another accountable. And so I had the opportunity to be in various types of circles up to that point that had formed me and were foundational, in my formation.
Yeah.
And so I had that concept to offer.
Yeah. And you mentioned the work, and it's
Yeah.
one of those things I feel like I should know what it is because we talk about it and we'll read definitions, and I'm like, I'm not sure I even know what, it feels mysterious. So, what
So
is the work and who
mysterious.
is it for? Yeah.
Yeah. I like to talk about the work as being a psycho-spiritual system for our inner transformation that is not unlike many spiritual paths from many different traditions. The work, again, one reason I'm compelled to it, but also how I think those in the work would describe the work is that you don't have to, it's not a religion. And so it's not mutually exclusive with any religion. So it can be practiced almost like a philosophy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Alongside any religious beliefs that you have. And you could think about the path of yoga. And
Yeah.
yoga has so many branches and there's so many dimensions and it's physical and it's mental. And like I think about the work in those terms too.
Yeah.
But the one thing that I always think about the most that has resounded with me so powerfully regarding a definition of the work is that there's a place where Maurice Nicoll, who is one of the, you know, most renowned teachers of the word, now passed, but who left us a very comprehensive text in the commentaries that he left behind, his notes and commentaries. There's a place where he says the work is Christ. The work is Christ. And what that means to me is that the spirit, the spirit that is the work itself, not all of its manifestations, not the tools, not the text, not the theories, but like the source of the work is Christ.
Yes.
And I think that's true for every major system of religion or philosophy, that it is ultimately truth itself, love itself, taking many shape and form so that we have an opportunity to recognize it
Yeah.
and to apply it.
Yeah.
And so there's also language in the work that says um, that the work it'll go underground for like hundreds of thousands of years sometimes, and then it'll arise again in a shape and a form that's recognizable to those of that time. And so the work isn't just a system that was written by George Ivanovich Gurdjieff, who people credit as the founder of the work. In
Yeah.
one sense, he is the one who popularized the work in the 20th century. That is true. But he would say and would hope that anyone following the work would understand that he is not the origin of the work and that the work itself is ancient.
Mm.
What's actually true and has always been true. And then it puts on costumes. Christianity is one costume that the truth has tried on in order to reach us in our time
Wow. Yeah.
and particular people and particular places because
Yeah.
the context does matter.
Yeah.
That's how I see it.
Yeah. That's so beautiful. I love that you said that about Christ because I feel for me, it cuts away some of the fluff around the mission of Jesus. And I feel like it's helping me try to align with what I think Jesus' mission is and try to embody it. So yeah, so that brings me to as well, like what has your journey with religion been? And how has your idea of God grown or
Mhm.
morphed or transformed over the years? And has anything remained?
Yeah. So I did grow up loosely Methodist, which is to say I had some exposure to Christian doctrine and theology,
Hmm.
but I wasn't in a Christian household necessarily. Like my mom tried, and my dad was in the house, but he was religiously traumatized. And so, like, he to this day won't discuss religion or spirituality. But I had enough exposure that when I went to college, I was wild, had a lot of fun.
Same.
I was a lot of fun. But also my life was in shambles in certain ways. And so I was 20 years old when I woke up one day and was like, this is headed nowhere. Like, I have no direction in my life. And I played college softball. I played it's such a bizarre, like, it's such a bizarre series of events. But I ended up going to play softball at a historically Christian school that still was not associated, but like claimed to be Christian. And but I played on the softball team, which meant I, had teammates that I didn't choose. And several of them were practicing Christians that were felt very strongly about their faith. Well, as it turned out, I quite liked some of them. Two of them became and still are my very best friends in life. On that day that I woke up and realized I had no direction, I was like, my friends' lives seem better than mine. Happening there. I might be interested in that. And I started asking them about their faith and about what it meant, like what it felt like to them to be close to God. I remember asking that specific questions to my friend. I also had a coach. My coach was also a very devout Christian and had a massive impact on my life. And so I took 4 months, Kate, from the day I woke up and decided I'll just see what this is about. I started studying my Bible seriously. I also had to take like Bible classes at this institution. And then I started attending like a non-denominational church that was very popular with like a lot of the students. And I was like, I'll just see what it's about. I'll just kind of see what it's about. And slowly but surely, I started to see the benefits that there might be. And I think God was just really at work also, whatever we call God, which we can talk about as well. But like that
Yeah.
force, that energy was working on me. And so I do love this story. There was a day in April that I went to my mailbox at college and I pulled out my mail and I had two pieces of mail at the same time. One of them was completely anonymous, like it was an anonymous note that someone had written me, handwritten,
What?
super cute,
Yeah.
that quoted 2 Corinthians 5:17. You are a new creation. The old has gone and the new is come. And then random as hell also, can I say hell? I opened it was a letter from like a youth group pastor from like years before, from my mom's like home church that I had no current connections with, quoted the exact same scripture. And I was like, today's
Wow.
the day.
Yeah.
Today's the day. I'm a new creation. Like, and I literally called my friends and we went to the chapel that was on campus and I like prayed a prayer. It was really beautiful. There was no script to it.
Yeah.
They just sat with me and I was just like, my life is yours. I tried it my way. It wasn't working out. I'd love to try it your way. And the thing I prayed over and over again was that I could be useful, that I could become useful um, to God. So that was a major turning point.
Yeah.
And we can skip ahead. But that was the significant part of the story, which then, and at that time, so to answer your actual question about, God, at that time, I underwent a formation of sorts from like age 20 to 23. I was involved with a non-denominational Christian church that we would call, progressive at that time. So, um, what happened is that my husband and I got married and we felt called to leave our current situation and go live on a farm and learn to grow our own food right after he finished graduate school. He finished graduate school with multiple graduate degrees. Okay. And we immediately gave up our jobs and went
think
to
I
live on
knew
a farm.
that. That's
Yeah.
so cool. See,
Yeah.
more proof how cool.
It was the best decision like we've made until we decided to have kids. But yeah. And I was quickly exposed to, first of all, I was immersed completely in the nature and the natural cycles and surrounded by Native American spirituality and
Wow.
influences that were
Yeah.
coming from, we were in a remote area of Western North Carolina. We ended up being invited to participate in sweat lodges and just have various encounters with native, authentic native spirituality that became very formational to me. But
Mm.
I've said before that I learned to meditate weeding carrots because it is such a tedious process to like pull out the weeds from these like tiny, tiny little sprouts that are the actual, you know, greens of a carrot. And so it was so interesting because we left church. Like we didn't really mean to. We loved our community, but it was just time for us to have a new experience. We actually did try and visit a church one time while we were there, but it was complicated with our schedule. And like, so we were out of church, but we were immersed in the first Bible. I think it's Saint Bonaventure. So the first Bible, creation, the just really expansive spirituality and nature-based, spirituality of the native people. And that was my first awakening. Like I think about that as being my first awakening. And we only spent a year doing that. And almost maybe immediately after that, I found a spiritual director who introduced me to Cynthia Bourgeois.
Wow.
And I was like 25 years old probably. And that unfolded, the next 5 to 7 years of formation in the Christian mystical lineage with her as my primary kind of teacher that led me to the living school. Um, and so that's where I started to unfurl some of the mainstream Christian ideas I'd always struggled with because I didn't come to Christianity as conditioned from childhood.
Yeah.
I came to it when I was 20 and I'd had a lot of experiences and I'd always been interested in spirituality. So I had problems from the beginning. Like I wasn't sold out. I was like, the blood sacrifice doesn't make sense. Like the treatment of like sin and hell don't make sense. Like these things, like I'm uncomfortable, but this is well, it's my ancestry, first of all, right? Like this is for generations, like I'm just I'm like English mostly, And so it's my heritage. It's the only exposure that I meaningfully had so that when I started to experience God for myself, that's
Yeah.
where I turned because it was like what I knew, you
Yes.
know. And I saw so much beauty in those early years in the church and community, love, like there was a lot of goodness, but there was always problems for me theologically. And
Yes.
so that's where, enter. And eventually I studied yoga and Eastern philosophy and theology. And so all of that played into an evolving understanding of like what is God and what is true and what is real.
Where are you
Yeah.
now? What is God?
What is God? I know I have to answer that question for my kids.
Yeah.
And it's challenging with their concrete minds. So I think we can't obviously like
Yeah.
answer the question, and so at least I can say that, right? Like I don't know, I don't know, I don't know, and it feels good to
Yeah.
not know,
Mm.
right? And free, and yet I experience God as the foundational energy of everything that's arising.
Mm.
And so I think I tend toward panentheism. There's the difference, pantheism, panentheism, whatever, where God is in all things. Um, because I think source energy is the impetus that everything has to arise in the first place. And I tend to take kind of a Sufi, I guess I should just say, I love the Sufi perspective and they have, I don't know what to call it. Like I think of it as being a cone or being an aphorism or whatever, but
Yeah.
it's probably scripture somewhere.
Yeah.
But that God was a hidden treasure and longed to be known. I was a hidden treasure and I longed to be known. And other translations say, and I loved to be known. I
Yeah.
was a hidden treasure and I loved to be known. And that's been my understanding of like, this is all God discovering the fullness of God,
Yeah.
unfolding the
Yeah.
fullness of God
Yeah.
on this particular plane in form. Like, I think I believe in many worlds, many vibrational densities and planes and realms. And I think there's many mansions in the Father's house. There's this one too. And
Yeah.
there's this one too. And it's part of manifesting the particular qualities and characteristics of God that have no other way of being known or
There's
loved or
yes. There's so much beauty there, and I, for a moment, would love to go back to what you said about the cross and atonement, and that was something that was, I was gonna say challenging for me, but I think was, like,
Mm,
a beautiful holding space for me in many ways, because for me, it felt scary for a father to sacrifice a son in that way, and, like, that God, how was God the exact representation of Jesus in that moment? I love that scripture, like, God or Jesus is God is the exact wait, why am I messing it up? Jesus is the exact representation of God.
mm,
But my point, like, atonement theory, like, it seems a little off.
mm,
So
mm,
what would you say is, like, the mystical Christian, or
mm.
just mystical, or just any beautiful meaning behind
Yeah, I won't
that?
pretend to represent like the entire
Yeah.
mystical Christian
Yeah,
lineage.
right. Yeah, or have you had, like, a reckoning with that yourself of this is beautiful,
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
yeah, yeah,
And I will bow to Cynthia Bourgeois and to Richard Rohr in their own ways for their teaching, which has companioned me in my own understanding. And I think for me, the drama of that whole story is so revealing to us if we're willing to see ourselves in all of the different stories that are playing out, the ones who accuse Jesus, the ones who betray Jesus, and Jesus, and the women, the Marys, like there's so many, we are all of them. And I think
yeah,
that's one thing, that's one one way we could go in interpreting the story and
yeah,
understanding the story is if it's like when we talk about dream interpretation and everyone in the dream is you.
mm,
And it's like everyone in the story, including Jesus, is us. And that is part of our multiplicity.
mm,
And what does it mean for us? And I don't even want to apply the meaning for us, but what would it mean for each of us to go and further contemplate the meaning of that story if every character in it is within us? Then what becomes true about the story? But another way that the cross has been deeply meaningful for me is in its revelation of the universal pattern that I believe we're invited to
yeah,
if we're devoted spiritual seekers.
yeah,
And that is the metanoia that is represented, the turn. And I think no moment is more powerful to me in the passion story than the moment that Jesus says, if this cup be taken from me, like, take it. If we can do this any other way,
hmm,
let's do it.
yeah,
And the answer is no. And Jesus accepts anyway.
Yeah.
Jesus' consent in the Garden of Gethsemane is like the turning point of everything for me in my own
Hmm.
understanding. And it's like everything Jesus had to make that final decision to live under the will of the Father. And we all have that choice in front of us in every single moment that we're here. We either choose our own desire or God's desire for us, God's will for us. And what happens after that is that the first body dies. The first body dies. The life that is alive dies. And only in second body, the truth,
Hmm.
new life
Hmm.
arises.
Yeah.
New life arises.
Yes.
And I think too, where we went so wrong and sadly, like it makes me just sad, like deeply
Yeah.
sad,
Yeah. Right.
is in suggesting that Jesus had done something that we then didn't have to do for ourselves.
Hmm.
And I think that's been detrimental in so many ways. But my understanding of the cross is like that it reveals to me my own path, the path we all have to walk, which Jesus was willing to illustrate for us,
Yes.
to show us. And it doesn't mean a literal death. Now, we all are going to die. And so, in some sense, it does mean that too. But if we wish to die before we die,
Yes.
that's an option also. However, it's not without suffering. It is not without suffering against our wish. Jesus wished for the cup to be taken, and that was not the way. And so we suffer the pain of laying our faults to rest, letting them die, even though it's very difficult and painful. The promise, though, is that there is something on the other side of that. That's not the end of the story. That is not the end. The end is eternal life, agency in other realms. And I don't know what that means. I
Yeah.
don't think it's golden gates and pearly streets or pearly gates and golden streets. And I don't know that it's reuniting with the people we love, although I don't think that that's not it. I think there may be some possibility, but it's not what we think. It's not what we
Yeah.
think. But we're talking about, death, like the practice of dying to ourselves, the practice of death, that we might be prepared for our bodily death.
Hmm.
It includes all of it for me. And so it's the pattern for me that I see played out in the story of the cross, this universal pattern. It's not the only place we see it, it's written in all of creation.
Yes.
The tree falls to the earth and dies. It becomes soil and then literally arises as other forms of life. I mean, in some sense, we didn't really need Jesus to teach us that. And yet I think we did. And that's part of why Jesus came. And I do believe that Jesus was a prophet and was more than a prophet and was not necessarily just another, truly enlightened being, but that there was this foundational shift in the evolution of humanity that was precipitated by Jesus' event.
I remember you saying something about there being some sort of like frequency shift or like, am I making that up? Do I mean like some sort like when Jesus went like left his body, and I'm thinking of words from Cynthia Bourgeot as well. Like it actually like was like the veil was thinned in that passing. Like I get goosebumps again and I just want to be like, are we hearing this? Like it is so so beautiful and always unveiling. Oh, it just got me excited. um, but yeah, I want to be respectful of your time and
Yeah.
I do
Okay, I know.
also want to ask you too, like manifesting can be kind of a buzzword. But the more that I study it and learn about it, I think it's so fascinating. And for me, it's like feels totally in alignment with Jesus and trying to figure out love. And so I'm curious, like, from your perspective, what is manifesting at its core and how can we actively co-create with Creator
Well, I don't know where you land on that though. Like,
on
what's your
manifesting?
elevator pitch for manifesting?
Yeah.
Yeah.
To me, it is like such a beautiful combination of letting my desire purely pull me forward and then surrendering it up.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it is like trying to deeply listen to whispers in my heart and then
Mhm.
like
Releasing
a
all attachment to outcomes.
releasing
Yeah.
attachment. And it's and I love it because I feel like it is this like my reality can be this beautiful mirror of what's going on in my insides, in my
Mhm.
internal world, in my own beliefs. And I feel like if I let it be, there's always more to the story. And I don't know where like necessarily my creation intersects with God, but like if I let my reality
Mhm.
teach me about what I am like, my subconscious beliefs or
Yeah.
silent time, whatever, like that can be incredibly empowering and humbling.
Mhm. Mhm.
And I don't think I have full control, but I do think that we have
Yeah.
more agency
Mhm.
than I once gave ourselves credit for.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I think that's part of what we wake up to. I think like when we're trying to see
Yeah.
what really is, it requires an enormous amount of self-responsibility.
Mm.
And I think that's because we eventually recognize that we're a God seed growing up into God. And if we mean it, if we're going to become our take up the task of gardening our seed to keep the analogy, yeah, then we realize like we are God too. We are God too. And it's scary to say because of how much it can be perverted and has been perverted. And yet, what is it? What is a child of God? I mean, what is it? A human child grows up to be a human. Child of God grows up to be a God. And I don't mean to sound blasphemous. I mean it in the most holy and sacred sense possible.
Mm.
That I really do believe that whatever the energy is that we call God, it wishes for us to come to maturation, to our fullest expression of the
Wow.
true qualities of what God is.
Wow. Where and how, yeah, how is that? Like you said, I don't mean to sound blasphemous. And I notice like some conditioning in myself
Mhm.
arise when you say that. And also, I know that it's like beautiful and true. We are children of God. I don't know. I guess I'm just thinking out loud, like where and how has that been either perverted? And so we're like Christians are afraid of that or,
Yeah. Well, I think the perversion is when people claim the power of God and then use it to mistreat others. And
hmm
that would be the case in a lot of spiritual teachers and pastors. And there's
yeah,
like so many stories like that, you know?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
But ultimately, I think it's our destiny as children of God to grow up into mature expressions of the highest qualities that we associate with
Mm.
highest expressions of love and peace and
Wow.
joy,
Yes.
like mercy.
Yeah.
I knew you were interested in talking about mercy,
Yeah.
and
What is
I've
mercy?
I've wondered if mercy is a synonym for God,
Mm.
and have been exposed to teaching that suggests mercy, like these, is material. that it's material and that it is the, I don't know how you want to put it. I mean, it's the original.
Mm.
It's the vibration. It's the word. It is the thing.
Is that because it's like an exchange? Or what makes it more tangible?
I can't pretend to know. Like in the work, the teaching is that all of these qualities are material. The qualities of the fruits of the spirit that we call
Yeah.
the fruits of the spirit.
Yeah.
How is mercy different is the question, or is it different?
Yeah.
Or what is it about the quality of mercy that we might elevate or distinguish from the other fruits of the spirit? It's not listed in the fruits of the spirit, technically speaking.
Yeah.
Then I'm curious. I'm curious to more deeply understand that mystery. But it's like what the image that comes to mind is the ground itself.
Wow.
The
Yeah.
ground itself, out of which everything else arises.
Wow.
And these other fruits, if you think about them, if you want to go with that analogy, which has been persistent, it seems like that the ground itself, it's mercy, and the fruits of the spirit are grown out of it.
That's beautiful.
Yeah,
Thank you, Jane. Yeah, that's so beautiful. I will hold that dear. Thank you.
did we answer your question though?
I was just getting goosebumps and enjoy listening, and so that answers my question.
Good enough. Good enough.
So, I'm if it's okay, I will
Hmm.
just ask a few questions to close our
Okay, yeah.
time,
Okay, let's
and you
see.
can just in like whatever comes and but I love that's kind of just how you live anyway. So when do you notice God's presence from within your body? Or what is that like for you?
The first image I had was of holding my children. That was the
Mm.
first image that I had. And the sensation that arises from that connection.
How about the presence of Jesus? Is there a difference or is it the same?
For a long time, I have experienced Jesus as if as if in a cave of my heart that I can drop into when I'm quiet.
It's making my eyelids shake. What does faith mean to you?
Yeah, faith is our willingness to trust that love is the highest reality.
How is God speaking to you right now? And are you hearing anything that you'd like to share?
It is enough. Come as we are. No preparation is necessary. All of life is our preparation if we pay attention. It's by our presence alone that all else can be and flow.
And do you experience that as like a knowing or like seeing words
Mhm.
or something that flows through you?
Yeah, for me, I don't receive it. I receive it, yeah, as a knowing that can take as an image and knowing. So I don't hear it. I can feel sensation in my body, but that's not the primary like source of it. So it's almost like I can experience the words sort of flowing into my awareness from
Mm,
another place.
so cool.
We didn't get to
And
talk about channeling, but we'll do that next time.
yes. And lastly, do you have an invitation to healing, like a mindset shift or a small practice that you feel compelled to invite us into?
What would happen? I think as far as a mindset shift, there's a question. It's coming up right now, although I wouldn't say it's what I would have planned to share. But that's like, what would happen if we just assumed the absolute best of ourselves?
Mm.
What if we're amazing? What if the truth is that we're already transformed in love? And how would we live and act and serve and love if we believed that we already are the highest expression of God. It's all here, whole, already within us.
I just have my hand on my heart and on my guts, just trying to receive that. That's really beautiful. I feel like a sense of struggling or scraping kind of fall to the sides when you say that.
Yeah.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you for this time. And I pray that it will be food and fuel for us and for anyone that listens. You're a blessing, Jane. Thank you.
Such a gift to be with you, Kate. Thank you. Amen.
Amen.